Hey, happy campers, Todd here at Great American. Today we're talking about the difference between gas motorhomes and our diesel motorhomes. What are the big differences that we see? Well, visually we can see full body paint on our big luxury diesels versus fiberglass with decal packages on there. Both of them look nice, okay? Let's talk about another obvious point. Gas engine on a gas suspension versus diesel engine on an air ride suspension. And stay tuned because we're gonna roll up onto these chassis and take a closer look at what we're talking about on these things. But the ride is better on a diesel compared to a gas. It's quieter. Most diesels nowadays, they're gonna have engines in the rear versus engines in the front on a gas motorhome. So your ride's gonna be quieter. You have more horsepower, more torque, better fuel efficiency. If you were towing something behind you, like a car, you go ahead and put a car behind a gas motorhome, you're gonna lose some of that extra torque that you need to drive or catch up while you're getting out on the highway. And of course, your fuel mileage is gonna go down versus putting it behind a diesel. It's gonna stay pretty close to the same. You're also looking at your cargo compartments. We can see our floor line, our belt line is much lower right here, whereas compared to a diesel motorhome, the belt line is going to be higher, your floor line is going to be higher, so that means your compartments are going to be massively bigger, okay? And they sit under the frame, so you're going to have pass-through compartments all the way through and through on your diesels versus your gases. They're going to pretty well stop at the frame because the frame is right behind that compartment. We'll take a closer look at that too here in a minute. So those are some of the obvious differences. Obviously, more cost, right? Our luxury diesel motorhomes are a lot higher priced than our gas motorhomes, but you get a lot more with that. Tiled floor, heavier duty fixtures, walls, cabinets, all that stuff versus like press wood or wood cores that they put inside gas motorhomes because of the chassis difference, right? Our chassis can only hold so much weight on a gas motorhome versus a diesel, so therefore our building products that we put in these and furnishings are going to be a lot lighter than the diesel motorhome. So let's look at longevity. Our diesel motorhome is going to last a lot longer when it comes to the products that we have in it with our walls, our furniture, stuff like that. We're going to get more longevity, so for that price, your unit's going to last longer. Your diesel engine, let's say, 50,000 miles. That seems like a lot on a gas motorhome versus a diesel motorhome. Really, that's not a lot. Diesel engines have a long-lasting life as long as you maintain them. Gas engines can too, as long as you maintain them. But there's a pretty big difference when it comes to trading in and the value of your engine having 50,000 miles on it on a gas versus 50,000 miles on a diesel. That diesel is still going to be wanted at 50,000 miles. Gas motorhome, 50,000 miles, it's kind of a lot, right? So those are the things when we're talking about value, trade-in value. Diesels are going to hold their value a lot better. Another thing we'll talk about too is our turning radius. Our gas motorhomes, obviously engines in the front. You're going to have a front axle where it kind of V's down. Those tires can only go so far. Versus the diesel motorhomes, you have the engine in the rear. We have a straight bar across. Now we have a better turning radius. And of course, those units are going to be a lot longer, so you're going to appreciate that turning radius. Let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into some of that stuff right now. All right, we got the old creeper out, and we're going to hop under this unit right here. Now, leveling systems, you're going to have leveling on both of them. This one is hydraulic, so that's something to keep in mind too. Hydraulic leveling is going to be a little better, but our access to our pumps isn't always going to be that great when it comes to gas, because a lot of times they're going to put them in the frames like this one right here. So we're going to have a hard time getting to this to check the level on our pump, make sure our fluid level is right. It's still okay, easy to do. This one's at the bumper. Some like Class C's and stuff, they might be in the middle. So it's not super easy to get to. Diesel motorhomes, a lot of times they have a designated compartment for these to go in, and much easier to be able to access them and check the fluids on them, all right? Generator, of course our generator is going to be side mounted on gas. Diesel we'll see a little bit later, they're mounted in the front. Of course you have a much bigger power bank with that diesel as well. As we move down the line, let's talk about brakes. Hydraulic brakes on a gas engine. So when we start talking about brakes, then might as well start talking about braking systems on our towing vehicle. Our towing vehicles, if you've done any research on braking systems, they have different ones. Some of them are boxes that you sit in front of the driver's seat, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to hook up. They're big, they're bulky, you have to store them, versus the air-operated ones where it's a piston. You hook up one pin and then hook up the other end to your pedal, and it works off of your air brakes on your motorhome. And it's a much easier system to work with, and it is going to stop your towing vehicle a lot better behind that diesel motorhome than the gas system. Now, they do have systems that you can upgrade that work similar to that on your gas motorhomes, but they are going to be more expensive. So cost later on can add up to where you just wish you would have went with a diesel instead. All right, suspension wise, we're sitting on springs, we have shocks, you know, standard gas type stuff. Think big U-Haul box trucks, right? This is generally the suspension that you're going to have on this particular one. It's a Ford chassis stretched out. You have the Godzilla engine on there, plenty of horsepower and stuff for this type size unit. Let's move a little bit further. All right, your drive line on your system, got your drive shaft, long drive shaft all the way down. Got your transmission, engine. As far as maintenance goes, changing your oil if you happen to do that stuff yourself, fairly accessible. I'm a skinny guy, but not a huge amount of ground clearance here. You can always run your jacks down to get some more ground clearance, but oil filter, oil pan, drain plug, all that stuff is pretty accessible, just like on a gas engine. We can see our front axle right here that I was talking about. See how it has that V down? That's going to cut down on some of our turning radius in there, especially with hydraulic brakes and stuff like that in the front. You have the calipers up there. They can only turn so much before they're going to hit a stopping point. Once again, springs there in the front. So it's going to ride like a bigger truck. Not as terrible. It's going to be a smoother ride. I don't want to compare it to a U-Haul truck overall, but it's going to be a slightly smoother ride than that by all means. But once again, you're still on a spring suspension. If you've ever driven a gas and then you've driven a diesel, you'll know what I'm talking about. Last thing we'll touch on our gas motorhome, sorry, is there's our frame, here's our compartments. So once again, we're talking about our compartment space. Open that one up. We're only going to go that far, right? They have a pass-through on this one that goes up and over our frame, but it's not huge. And we're only going to go as far as our frame will allow us to go here. So storage is going to be a lot more compact on gas motorhomes as well. We're still going to have pretty decent sized tires on our gas motorhomes, and that's going to help you ride a lot versus smaller tires. It's going to absorb more of the ride as you're traveling down the road. All right, let's go jump under this Tiffin right here. We've got a Freightliner chassis on this one. While we're up here, let's go ahead and talk about our compartments. Open it up, big pass-through compartment all the way through. This is our frame, right? So that's what I was talking about in the difference in where our frame sits. This one is actually going to be higher, going to give you maximum storage down here. We can also see, once again, we're talking about luxury. We have trays that pull out. This one's on a push button. You can push the button. Some of them have little latches. Trays can pull out. Everything's going to be higher end on this, right? Look at all this space. Just in these two or three bays right here, you probably have more than what you get on a gas motorhome when it comes to storage. So it's about needs versus wants sometimes. You may not want to have to spend that extra money, but if you have that amount of stuff and you're going full time, this is probably the way to go. Our battery banks are going to be bigger over here. We'll show you the battery compartment, whereas a gas motorhome is probably only going to have like 2 house batteries. Let's take a look at how many we have on a diesel. All right, opening up the battery bank. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. There's 2 rows, 6 batteries for that. All right, so huge battery bank for this system. And this is just the house batteries. That's not including the 2 large chassis batteries that you have for this unit as well. And then here we are, designated hydraulic bay, much easier to get to do maintenance on than under the frame. Now, not all Class A diesels are gonna have that designated hydraulic bay. Most of them will though. Once again, we'll walk over here, we see bigger tires, bigger rims. That is going to absorb so much more on the road, bigger chassis overall. So our furnishings on the inside are going to be bigger and better. We can get more of a residential style. We'll have tile floor, we'll have thicker walls, we'll have thicker and better furnishings as far as our cabinets. all of that stuff is going to be so much better and have a lot more longevity to it as well. Let's crawl underneath. So we're under our front end, and we can see already our steering is phenomenally different than what it was on the other one. We have a front independent suspension on here. On this particular one, like I said, Freightliner chassis, Coney shocks, and look, that thing can turn so much better. Now this one does have hydraulic brakes on the front, should have air brakes on the rear on this particular unit. Some of them are going to have air brakes in the front, just depends on model, right? Generator is going to be up there in the front, and like I said, when it's running and you're traveling down the road, it's not even near as loud as what a gas engine is. Whenever you're traveling down the road, you have thicker floors, better insulation on here overall, so a lot of things are going to be different. Hydraulic jacks, these are pretty powerful and can lift this whole unit. Plus you have an air ride leveling on some of these, so you may not even need to put your jacks down. You can use your air leveling to level out some of this. As we move to the back, I'll show you the airbags, but just get an overall look at the underbelly of this. Everything is framed across the bottom. We talked about the pass-through storage bays and stuff. Your drive shaft obviously is going to be a lot shorter on here because your engine is in the back and it's going to your rear axle. Let's head back there and take a closer look. All right, let's crawl under the rear right here. As we look, we're at the back of the unit. We have a big DEF canister right here for our exhaust system that catches all the carbon and stuff. There's our oil pan, oil plug right there. So as far as maintenance, pretty easy to get to still. Have our oil filter right there. You're going to have fuel filters on here for your diesel system, fuel water separator, fuel filter, all that stuff. So maintenance wise, a little more costly because you have a few more things to change. Here's our transmission. As we move back, this is a tag axle, meaning that we have, let me flip over here. So this is our tag axle, meaning we have another axle behind our dual wheels on this particular unit. You're generally going to have that on a really long unit to help with steering. We can see our steering, extra steering right here that's going to turn whenever we make a turn. Now you're not going to see it make a full turn like your front tires will, but it's going to help guide the back end of this unit a little bit more. We see on here also we're going to have air brakes. It's basically a big drum brake on here, and they're going to be activated by our pancake system up here. Air is going to come in, activate the lever, and we have just these massive brakes back here to help stop that unit. Now with that, we're also going to have our airbag system back here. So it's sitting on an air ride chassis, which means these airbags are filled with air right now. Ton of air. Right? So what these do, they not only level out our unit, but they cushion the ride. So this is going to act like a shock more or less, and this is going to kind of bounce up and down through there and provide a much, much better ride compared to your gas motorhome on this system. It's also going to adjust with your level, so these have arms on them. Whenever that arm moves up and down, it says, oh, I'm off level. It's going to take air from our reserve tank that's tucked up there, and it's going to add more air to it, or it's going to let air out, and it'll actually help level out your unit so you're driving a little bit straighter, even on messed up roads, okay? Drive shaft right here, shorter drive shaft because obviously our engine is in the rear, closer to our rear axle. So much shorter drive shaft. We see another set of airbags. Let's zoom in here. Another set of airbags there on that front axle, our main axle there. And once again, same thing. Those are going to move up and down with the level of our unit. You're not fighting in a sway. These are all going to adjust automatically. And also, like I said too, you may have air leveling on your unit. You may not even need to drop your jacks down. You can lower your unit, level it through that air system. I'll show you one more thing. As far as engine access, you're gonna have that here in the rear. We can go ahead and hit these two clips. Open that up. Have our engine access. Told you we have fuel filters, fuel water separators right here. We have our air cleaner right here. You're going to have coolant systems, air engine fill, transmission, oil fill, all the same stuff you'd have on a diesel, on a gas motorhome. And you're actually going to have better access to it here as compared to a gas motorhome. May only give you an opening about that big to actually reach in there and get some of that stuff. So overall maintenance on this, is a little more costly because of oil and everything like that. Bigger engine, more oil, bigger gas tank, more fuel. But you're also getting better fuel efficiency and overall longevity out of a diesel engine compared to a gas. So yes, beyond the actual things that you can see, full body paint, nicer fixtures on the inside, tile floor, cost, price tag, right? Beyond all of those little things that you can obviously see in the difference between a diesel versus a gas, there's a lot more to see when it comes to the chassis and power and stuff like that. So ultimately it's your choice. What do you need your unit for? What are you going to be using it for on a regular basis? You need to kind of compare those things. And if you just want to get started in RVing, make sure that it's what you want to do. The price tag on this or an entry level may be better, but don't forget we do have entry level Class A diesels like a Tiffin Byway that's sitting over there. That's not much more than the cost of a luxury Class A gas motorhome. So think about these tips with diesel. It rides better. I definitely suggest if you have the funds to do it, drive that entry level diesel before you bite the bullet on a luxury Class A. Just drive it. I promise you, just drive it. You're going to regret having driven it after you drove that high-end gas. It's just a lot better. It's just a lot better. Been doing this for 20 years, and I tell you, if I had the funds, I'm going with a Class A diesel, anything, any level, before I go to a gas Class A. It's just so much better. Can't describe it. That's all I got. You got any questions, leave them down in the comments. Here at Great American RV, we have a ton of inventory, Class A's, fifth wheels, Class C's, Class B's, travel trailers, whatever you want. And we have plenty of helpful hacks and other sales videos, all that stuff on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever else we are. Give us a like and follow. Leave a comment down below. Let us know if you want to see something else. Be more than happy to video and send it on your way. Thanks for watching here at Great American RV. We're making memories one weekend at a time.